Live from Brisbane, this is 7 News.
Good afternoon. Our top stories on 7. Records tumble as temperatures soar across the state. Queenslanders swelter through another day of extreme heat. How long will it last? Welcome back. Travellers from Melbourne and Sydney flock to the Sunshine State as businesses and tour operators brace for a summer rush. Cheaper fares on the horizon thanks to an airline with sky-high ambitions. And cheers to the Aussies, the global push to support Australia's wine industry following China's tough trade tariffs. It's been hot and sticky across many parts of southern Queensland as a heatwave reaches its peak. Records have been broken, with the mercury pushing into the 40s in a number of towns. Joel Dry has more.
It's taken 3 days to get here, but we have finally reached the uncomfortable peak of this heatwave being experienced in many parts of Queensland. Temperatures are spiking in the southeast, some places experiencing 10 degrees above the average. As it often is, Ipswich was once again a focus of the heat, with the mercury aiming to hit 40 degrees, which meant these school kids spent their last week of school not in the classroom, but in a water fight.
We're just out here having a bit of fun in the hot weather. My favourite part is probably throwing water bombs at the teachers.
Brisbane was hot at 34 degrees, making life very muggy for many people.
Just stay hydrated, mate, and plenty of shade breaks.
But the big numbers were out west. Gatton going for 42 degrees and Gundawindi aiming to break a record at a melting maximum of 46 degrees.
It will be very hot in Gundawindi today. We're forecasting a top temperature of 46, which is very significant for an area such as the Darling Downs.
I mentioned today is the peak of the heat wave, with a reprieve of sorts tomorrow, but don't expect too much and don't expect it to last very long. By the weekend, temperatures in some parts will climb back into the 40s. It's only a few days old, but summer is certainly making an early statement.
And Paul Burt joins us live from the Gold Coast now. And Bertie, can we expect a cool change anytime soon?
Marla, I've got some great news. Look, we've got some storm activity sitting to the southwest of southeast Queensland at the moment, just hovering around the border regions. That'll extend more to northern New South Wales tonight. But at Yamba, which is only about 80 mile or about 120 k's south of the border, that southeasterly breeze has already hit. Now, that'll vigorously move its way up the coast, bringing a cooler change tonight. We may even see a shower around 10 or 11 p.m. Tomorrow, overcast. Have a look at today's temperatures. Well, no brainer there, upwards of mid to high 30s in the west. The place to be, the coastal strip, where it's sat steady at around 30 to 32 degrees. Marlina, I'll be back a little bit later with more weather.
All right, thank you, Bertie. We'll see you then. The Premier has announced a full review into the bushfire emergency still unfolding on Fraser Island. Macline firefighters have just given an update.
Good afternoon, Marlina. There is some good news. Crews on the ground are confident they can defend the destination's most popular resort. The blaze that's been burning for 6 weeks now has 3 fire fronts. One is just a couple of kilometres from Kingfisher Bay Resort. Despite hot, windy conditions, firefighters say their plan is working though.
Firefighters have been directing that fire across to the east from its location over the last few days. And that is effectively working.
It follows another major backburning effort at the other fire front of concern last night. Crews at Cathedral's campground tried to establish a fire break, and this morning it was clear that mission was a success. Access to the World Heritage listed site is still restricted. Only around 200 people remain on the island. Marlina?
Many holidaymakers have spent the night behind the wheel driving to Queensland after border restrictions eased. The cost of the closure was heartbreaking for businesses who are now hoping for a record summer. Isabel Mullen reports.
Well, the Queensland border has been open to Victoria and Greater Sydney for less than 48 hours, but visitors have been arriving in droves. Whether it's a honeymoon,
there was a lot of high fives when we crossed the border.
Holiday.
We just drove up today. It was just a spur of the moment thing.
Or reunion.
It's been, quite hard being apart.
Our southern friends are finally enjoying all Queensland has to offer.
It's probably been the longest 8 months of my life. There's no question that the coast is back.
Opening a new monster trucks ride in time for Christmas, Dreamworld staff are anticipating a record summer. 800 workers were stood down during COVID. Almost all of them have been rehired.
Sydney and Melbourne particularly are also huge components, and so having them come back is really good for us, and we're really excited about it.
Mark Belcher has operated a small Mexican restaurant on the border in Coolangatta for 25 years. COVID has been his hardest time.
All my customers were all just talking about just being able to drive around again. Super excited, super happy, super everything. Yeah, it can't be any better for all of us.
Tourists are expected to spend $3.5 billion in Queensland this December alone.
The reopening of state borders is reviving the embattled airline industry. There are promises of price cuts as travellers return to the skies, and a country carrier is leading the charge. Chris Mara explains.
Well, the airline industry continues to reposition itself as the fallout from the impact of COVID affects services and jobs. Regional carrier Rex has announced that it will be taking on the big players by offering services between Sydney and Melbourne beginning March 1 next year.
This new opportunity arises because there's plenty of pilots, there's plenty of aircraft, there's space at airports, and we've been able to raise a significant amount of capital to fund all of this.
Rex will be using former Virgin 737s to put together what will be 9 services a day initially, beginning with a promotional offer of a $79 fare between Sydney and Melbourne. It comes with Qantas under fire over the cost of its flights to Perth after the Western Australian government decided to lift restrictions. From next Tuesday, the cheapest fares, Sydney to Perth, are just over $1,000, although Qantas is promising to bring them down as more planes are brought on board. And also as Qantas ground crews today condemned the airline for its decision to hand their jobs to outside contractors.
Hard-working, made the sacrifices when they've had to over the years, only to be told Monday that they'll be thrown on the unemployment scrap heap.
The Transport Workers Union has raised the point that outside contractors, very much in line to take over these roles, have significant Chinese ownership.
Public transport fares will be frozen next year in a welcome reprieve for commuters. Bus, train and ferry fares across Queensland have risen in line with the Consumer Price Index in recent years.
A freeze on ticket prices means we will keep putting commuters first by encouraging people to continue to catch public transport.
The state government today said commuter numbers were down due to the pandemic, but they're hopeful freezing fares will see many return. Australia is now technically out of a recession, with news the economy grew 3.3% in the September quarter. As COVID restrictions eased across the country, more people went out spending. Taylor Aiken has the details from Canberra.
Treasurer Josh Frydenberg has warned while Australia has performed better on the health and economic front than most other nations around the world, there is still a long way to go. New figures released today show the economy grew by 3.3% in the September quarter, largely thanks to consumer spending. But annual growth, however, is still in negative territory, with the economy still considerably smaller than this time last year. Josh Frydenberg has hailed it as the quickest GDP recovery on record, but Shadow Treasurer Jim Chalmers says many Australians are still struggling.
Australia's recession may be over, but Australia's economic recovery is not. There is a lot of ground to make up, and many Australian households and many Australian businesses are doing it tough.
What looks like a recovery on paper will still feel like a recession for too many Australians.
The Treasurer also touched on our strained relationship with China, saying while the deteriorating trade relationship is very serious, domestic consumption will remain the key driver of Australia's post-pandemic recovery. While the Treasurer says he is confident about diversified trade options around the world, it will be domestic spending in sectors like shops and restaurants that pave the way for economic repair. And while our government tries to contain the growing disputes with China, our partners around the world are doing their bit to show their support for Australian wine. They've called on people around the world to drink Australian wine this December to stand up against what they describe as bullying by the Chinese Communist Party and Xi Jinping.
Another high-profile Trump ally has refuted the president's claims the US election was rigged. Attorney General William Barr saying there's no evidence of voter fraud at a scale that would have changed the result. It's another obvious sign Donald Trump is on the out and the man on the way in is trying to offer hope. Ashley Mullaney has the story.
President-elect Joe Biden promised struggling Americans that help is on the way after introducing the team that'll lead the nation through this economic crisis. Biden appeared in Delaware today, his foot cased in a walking boot after he fractured it playing with his dog, telling reporters he felt good before delivering a message directly to the millions of Americans impacted by the pandemic.
Our message to everybody struggling right now is this: help is on the way.
As Biden's team takes shape, more signs today of a splinter in Team Trump, with the president's fiercely loyal Attorney General rejecting claims the election was rigged, telling the Associated Press, to date we have not seen fraud on a scale that could have affected a different outcome in the election. The Trump campaign with a swift response. With all due respect to the Attorney General, there hasn't been any semblance of a Department of Justice investigation. The president, undeterred, firing off another round of tweets alleging fake ballots. The president's made it clear his battle to overturn the election will be a priority for him in the closing days of his presidency, but he's eager to own the success of his vaccine program too. In a matter of days, the FDA will hold a meeting to decide whether to grant emergency use authorization for Pfizer's vaccine. In the meantime, the president plans to host a COVID-19 summit here at the White House, bringing together military, government and industry leaders as they prepare to roll out a vaccine program, likely before Christmas.
Coming up next, 5 people dead, including a toddler, after an alleged drunk driver ploughs into crowds of pedestrians in Germany. Run off the road, police officers forced into a cane field as a stolen ute reverses at speed towards them. And an exclusion zone set up at the Port of Brisbane after a chemical spill.
Duty-free stores, left in limbo, now dumping millions in stock, with Australian shoppers set to benefit.
Products at a fraction of the retail price.
Bargain prices on all major brands. How to access major discounts on items perfect for Christmas. 7 News, 6 o'clock.
A 26-year-old man has been charged over the death of alleged teen murderer Zlatko Sikorsky last month. The 37-year-old was allegedly assaulted at Walston Correctional Facility on November 10 and died 10 days later. His accused killer has been charged with 1 count of unlawful striking causing death. A police car has been forced off the road and into a cane field by an alleged stolen ute. The white Hilux attempted to reverse into the vehicle before speeding off. Officers were pursuing the ute after spotting it at a boat ramp near Mossman, north of Cairns on Monday. The 39-year-old driver managed to get away, but his freedom didn't last long, with police arresting and charging him yesterday. The shooting of an Italian restaurant in Toowong last month was sparked by the harassment of one of the accused's daughters. Rosanna Kingston has more.
Blake Vincent Verhelst was one of 2 men charged after a shooting at Brolos Italian restaurant just over 2 weeks ago. He appeared in a Brisbane court this morning where he pleaded guilty to dangerous conduct with weapon and willful damage. The court heard he was seen on CCTV standing with another man who fired 3 shots into the restaurant, damaging the glass front doors around 2 in the morning. He grabbed a handrail on the way out and left a fingerprint. He was also wearing a GPS monitoring device which pinged at the restaurant at the time of the shooting. When police tracked him down, they found a bag with the clothes he was wearing on the night. The 25-year-old's lawyer told the court his co-accused was like a father figure to him, and he went along out of a misguided sense of loyalty. Someone was making improper advances and harassing the daughter of the co-offender, Helen Shilton said. The co-offender thought wrongly that the way to get his message to him was to damage the restaurant. The judge sentenced him to 10 months in prison. He'll be eligible for parole in February next year.
A baby girl is among 5 dead after a car ploughed into pedestrians in Germany. The 51-year-old suspect was taken from the scene drunk, with authorities now investigating whether the crash was deliberate. Hugh Whitfeld has the story.
Police say it was a trail of devastation stretching for nearly a kilometre. Witnesses describe seeing victims flying into the air. And this is the moment the 51-year-old driver suspected of the rampage was pinned on the ground by police officers. They say he put up considerable resistance. His grey Land Rover SUV was cornered by officers' cars just minutes after the murderous spree. Police say he hit people at random. Among the dead, a toddler after the car reportedly hit a pram. In addition to the dead, more than a dozen people were seriously injured. Many more, police say, have psychological trauma. The mayor has said it was a sight of horror, and very soon after, armed police quickly locked down central parts of the city. A motive at this stage remains unclear. Police say the questioning process is, quote, very difficult, but they do say the driver was drunk behind the wheel. His neighbours have described him as strange and recently living in his car after the death of his mother. Detectives now looking at possible psychiatric problems, but say there is no indication of political or religious motivation. Germany has witnessed scenes like this before at the hands of terrorists. Back in 2016, 12 people were killed when an Islamic State-inspired terrorist drove a truck into crowds at a Christmas market in Berlin. On this occasion, police in Germany with a lot of work to do to try and work out the events leading up to this particular incident.
Fire crews were called to a chemical spill at the Port of Brisbane around 7 o'clock this morning. 2 20-foot containers were pierced, spilling sodium cyanide onto the ship and wharf. Scientific officers in hazmat suits are working to clean up the chemicals. A 200-metre exclusion area has been set up around the spill. Coming up after the break, an organised crime gang pulls off a daring bank heist which looks straight out of a Hollywood blockbuster. A truck driver faces court over a wild police chase which left a trail of destruction in Sydney. And the hunt for the prisoner on the run, how he easily escaped.
On 7 News, the heatwave peaks, soaring temperatures set to smash records, busted speeding, exclusive video and the top locations where drivers are caught, our brightest Christmas light displays, how to vote for the best, and duty-free stores dumping stock, how to get major discounts. 7 News at 6.
News with Sharon Gadella and Max Futcher every night at 6 o'clock.
A widespread manhunt is underway in Adelaide after a prisoner staged a bold escape. The 33-year-old busted through a window and shimmied down the edge of the building at the Adelaide Remand Centre using clothes tied together. He then casually walked away. It's the first breakout from the site in more than 20 years. The inmate is wanted over firearms offences. A mother on her way to school pickup says she thought she was going to die after a truck swerved into the path of her car. The driver is accused of a wild rampage that came to a crashing end in Sydney's southwest. Andrew Denny has this story.
Well, people who were caught up in this chaos during a pursuit through Sydney's southwest yesterday say it's incredibly lucky that no one was killed. 26-year-old Mohammed Hamoud was finally arrested when he crashed his truck into a fence at Bradbury. Earlier, the vehicle was captured on dash cam, speeding on the wrong side of the road, narrowly missing oncoming traffic. Police allege he just led them on a chase through 5 suburbs after they tried to stop the flatbed truck at Macquarie Fields. At one point, it's alleged he drove around to the local police station trying to hit patrol cars and other vehicles. 2 cars were hit and drivers left with minor injuries. People we spoke with say they thought they would be killed.
The fact that he hasn't mortally killed someone, I'm amazed. I'm
I'm glad that he's locked up. I'm really glad because I don't ever want to see that face again. It's burned into my brain after that. It's one of the most horrific moments I've ever had in my life.
Hamoud was already wanted on 2 outstanding warrants for other driving offences. His licence had already been suspended when he was spotted behind the wheel yesterday. Today he made no application for bail as he fronted court on 14 new charges. He'll stay behind bars until he returns here in the next 2 weeks.
An organised crime gang has carried out a daring and well-planned heist in Brazil. The gang blocked off roads and stationed snipers on roofs while the rest raided a bank and held back police with machine guns.
Pelo amor de Deus!
One was even armed with a bazooka. Some residents were used as human shields during the heist. The group left around $200,000 worth of cash on the street before taking off. They're still on the run. Authorities haven't revealed how much money they stole. China has successfully landed its robotic probe on the moon. It's there to collect rock and dust samples and will spend the next few days gathering them before bringing them back to Earth. The last mission to bring back moon samples was made by the Soviets 44 years ago. If you're on the Gold Coast, the chase is up next. Then join Rod Young and Amanda Abate for your local 7 Gold Coast news at 5:30. For the rest of Queensland, politicians from around the world throw their support behind Australian wine producers slugged with China's huge tariffs. Cars forced to swerve as 2 men trade punches in a heated road rage attack. And the moving and deeply personal announcement from an Oscar-nominated actor.
Duty-free stores, left in limbo, now dumping millions in stock, with Australian shoppers set to benefit.
Products at a fraction of the retail price.
Bargain prices on all major brands. How to access major discounts on items perfect for Christmas. 7 News, 6 o'clock.
Live from Brisbane, this is 7 News.
A look at our top stories this Wednesday. Queensland has sizzled through another scorching day. Towns across the state reached 40 degrees. The Weather Bureau says there will be a slight reprieve tomorrow, but expects temperatures to climb again over the weekend. Tour operators and businesses say they are expecting a record-breaking spend this summer as travellers from Melbourne and Sydney return to Queensland. Meanwhile, the reopening of state borders is offering a lifeline to the airline industry. Travellers can expect a drop in domestic fares as more services resume and demand increases. Members of Parliament from around the world are encouraging their constituents to buy Australian wine following China's 200% tariff on our exports. Georgie Chumley has more.
Well, when it comes to wine, it's hard to find a country that's unpatriotic.
After a hard day's work, nothing beats a glass of New Zealand Pinot.
But a group of politicians from all over the globe are supporting Australia's wine industry, posting this video overnight following China's tariffs of up to 200%.
So this December we are asking you all to join us in standing against Xi Jinping's authoritarian bullying.
By drinking a bottle or 2 of Australian wine and letting the Chinese Communist Party know that we will not be bullied.
For Queensland winery Syrah, 25% of their profits come from sales to China.
For us, it's obviously assessing how that impacts our costs. And then for us, it's a decision of whether we pass that full increase in cost on to our customers in China or whether we absorb some of it into our margin.
But minerals are our state's largest export and a third go to China, creating a perfect storm for coal mining. With reduced international demand, China's import restrictions and dozens of ships carrying up to $700 million worth of coal stuck off the Chinese coast.
Whilst there will be tensions between government, and they have been going on for some time, and this dispute has escalated in recent times, long term our relationship with China will still be strong.
Other industries that are under threat will have the full details tonight on 7 News at 6.
Terrifying pictures have emerged of a road rage attack that spilled into oncoming traffic in Adelaide. Two men can be seen leaping from their cars at a set of lights before throwing a flurry of wild punches. Lauren Rose reports.
It was here on Fullerton Road at 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon that the shocking road rage incident unfolded. This is the moment it spilled onto the road. Two men wildly throwing punches as cars swerve to miss them. Even when traffic banks up, they continue. One grabbing the other in a headlock, the other trying to knee him in the head. A witness had started filming the incident minutes earlier. The video shows a Volkswagen driver holding his phone out the window and then gesturing to a man behind the wheel of the Holden Astra. He then swerves suddenly to turn right onto Green Hill Road, but the Volkswagen follows. When both cars come to a standstill, the men emerge, enraged. 7 News understands the altercation began more than a kilometre away at the notorious Britannia roundabout. Police have the registration details of each car and are seeking to speak with both drivers.
The star of Oscar-nominated film Juno has made a deeply personal announcement, coming out as transgender. Elliot Page, formerly known as Ellen Page, shared the news on social media.
In the Netflix hit Umbrella Academy, Vanya has unparalleled superpowers. Today, the actor who plays that character found power sharing a deeply personal message. Hi, friends. I want to share with you that I am trans, Elliot Page began on Twitter. I feel lucky to be writing this, to be here.
I'm pregnant.
Oh, God. Formerly known as Ellen Page, the star of the film Juno, expressed gratitude for all who've supported his journey. I can't begin to express how remarkable it feels to finally love who I am enough to pursue my authentic self. But Page also said he's scared, citing hate and violence against trans people.
All of a sudden, the guy is attacking my friend.
Last weekend, actress Laverne Cox posted about an attack in an LA park.
It's not safe if you're a trans person.
You know that they have somebody that's willing to fight for them. A lot of them are so scared.
Across social media today, an outpouring of support. Elliot Page will continue to play Vanya in season 3. Netflix tweeting, "So proud of our superhero." To all trans people who deal with harassment, self-loathing, abuse, and the threat of violence every day, his message ended, I see you, I love you, and I will do everything I can to change this world for the better.
Let's get a check of finance now, and James Tao from ComSet joins us with more on how the local share market reacted to today's GDP figures.
Very good afternoon to you, Marlina. Certainly was a mixed bag for the Aussie share market today. The September quarter GDP numbers did beat the market's expectation, growth of 3.3%, certainly lifting the Aussie economy out of that technical recession that we saw. But what we actually had was a bit of a flat session overall for the ASX 200. We closed about 2 points higher. At one stage, we were down about 0.5%, and the session actually was at its lows just after the ABS released those September quarter figures. Miners certainly helped lift the market off its lows. We had iron ore prices trading around 6-year highs, so BHP and Rio Tinto both lifting around that 2% mark. Mesoblast was one of the big winners today, up more than 7%. One of its stem cell therapies could be fast-tracked in the US to help treat those suffering acute respiratory illnesses from COVID-19. And the Aussie dollar, little reaction as well, buying 73.7 US cents.
Seniors are being warned to steer clear of a dodgy online discount program. The Senior Advantage website promises to save members money after they pay a hefty joining fee. But an investigation by consumer group Choice found the discounts on offer were publicly available, including supermarket half-price specials. The website appears to be operating out of Lithuania. The Queen has scrapped plans to spend Christmas at Sandringham for the first time in more than 30 years. A renewed surge in COVID cases in the UK is being blamed for the change in Her Majesty's itinerary.
A lot of the areas are still going to be in what is called Tier 3, which is the most strict. It's almost as strict as being in lockdown. So not going to be a great Christmas, but I think that the Queen's setting the right example.
The Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh will spend Christmas at Windsor Castle instead. Pat Welsh joins us next with the day's sports news. Also, why scientists believe mums can benefit from baby brain. And the Gold Coast man celebrating a major milestone by dancing up a storm.
On 7 News, the heatwave peaks, soaring temperatures set to smash records, busted speeding, exclusive video and the top locations where drivers are caught, our brightest Christmas light displays, how to vote for the best, and duty-free stores dumping stock, how to get major discounts. 7 News at 6.
Well, having baby brain may not be such a bad thing after all. New research suggests the hormonal changes new mums go through may have sweeping benefits on the brain later in life.
Well, when we hear the term baby brain, we often think of things like memory problems, poor concentration and absent-mindedness. But 2 new studies from Monash University have found that becoming a mother can actually lead to better brain function later in life.
We've been looking at brain structure and brain function, as well as cognition. Certainly we didn't find any baby brain in a negative sense in late life.
PhD candidate Winnie Orchard looked at the brains of mothers now in their 70s and 80s and found the more children a woman had, the better their brain function could be later in life.
We can think of it sort of as a brain training, that we're keeping you on your toes, juggling more and more things, and that's actually contributing to a healthier and more resilient brain in late life.
83-year-old Josephine has 2 sons and is a proud grandmother. She says she still feels sharp, crediting some of that to her busy life as a young mum.
It's a hard learning curve for you to manage and to rear 2 young boys. I do lots of crosswords and puzzles and the like, and I think it is. Obviously, I forget names occasionally, but no, I think it's still pretty good.
Up until now, there'd only been studies done on how a mum's brain functioned 1 to 2 years after giving birth. So this research is a world first.
Let's have a quick look now at today's sport with Pat Welsh.
Marlina, thank you very much. Hello, everyone. The Aussies are showing they can adapt in the ODI game. Asked to bowl first in Canberra today, they kept India's vaunted top order quiet. Injuries made way for Australia's latest excitement machine, Cameron Green. But it was Sean Abbott who struck first in his recall.
Simplest of catch at short cover. Welcome back to the Australian team.
Another recall, Ashton Agar trapped Gill in front for 33, 2 for 82 on a perfect wicket. Again, the skipper was needed to step up, a role Virat Kohli relishes. But this was a struggle for the tourists. The spinners took 2 more. Then Hazelwood snared Kohli, caught behind for 63 on review after initially being denied. Australian boxing's next big thing says he's already feeling more comfortable in the pro ranks. Justice Hooney puts his newly acquired Australian heavyweight title on the line against Cameroon giant Arsene Faso tomorrow night in the Valley. He's acutely aware of the power of Faso.
Very strong. That's all I know. He's got that knockout power. So that's all I got to watch out for. It's just that hammer that everyone's talking about.
Promoters are so confident in Hooney's prospects, they've mapped out a 4-fight pro agenda leading into the Tokyo Olympics. F1 driver Ryan Grosjean says he saw death coming while trapped in that fiery inferno in Bahrain. The Frenchman leaves hospital later today after escaping from the blazing wreckage with nothing more than burns to his hands.
A few parts a bit painful, but it's okay. I mean, after what happened, I guess the pain is not too bad. I'm happy to be alive and to talk to you.
World champion Lewis Hamilton says he's gutted after a positive COVID test ruled him out of this weekend's round at the same circuit. And Aussie youngster Oscar Piastri is 1 step away from the big time after being promoted for F2 for next season. That's our sport. I'll be back at 6 with lots more, Marlina.
Great, thanks Paddy. We'll see you then. A Gold Coast man is marking a major milestone in rare style. William Lawler turns 100 on Friday and has already celebrated by dancing up a storm.
They call him Billy Blue Shoes.
Because I'm always wearing blue shoes on the dance floor. That's my favourite colour.
And he's been wearing them for almost 25 years.
I do at least 2 sessions a week.
Billy turns 100 on Friday. His mates gave him a cake to celebrate. But this is what really made his day. Billy can dance. Around and around the Tugun Community Hall, the almost centenarian waltzed his way across the boards.
If you've got right balance, you can't go wrong. Balance is everything in dancing.
As a young man, he played league for the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs, fought in World War II and worked as a builder. But dancing has become his one true passion.
It's a good exercise. The people, 99.9% of them are perfectly good friends. I haven't heard a bad word on the dance floor yet.
And his dance partners like his style.
Very polite with all the ladies. The ladies always love to dance with him.
I've got one particular lady that I dance with, and I always love to dance with her. She's so easy to get along with.
As for Billy, he has no plans on hanging up the blue shoes just yet.
I hope it's still keeping me young.
And when you're this good, why quit?
I love every minute of it.
Amanda Abate, 7 News.
Paul Burt joins us next with the latest on the heatwave hitting the southeast. Also, how this koala's search for love ended in a trip to the dentist. And the crazy KFC challenge, the Aussie tradie who ate 100 Zinger boxes in 100 days.
Duty-free stores left in limbo. Now dumping millions in stock, with Australian shoppers set to benefit.
Products at a fraction of the retail price.
Bargain prices on all major brands. How to access major discounts on items perfect for Christmas. 7 News, 6 o'clock.
Good afternoon, Queensland. You are watching 7 News as we come to you live from the beautiful alley here at Currumbin. I've got the Johnston family with me. Hey, team, how are we?
Yeah, we're good. Yeah, having fun.
Mate, I'll tell you what, the heat wave today, how did you guys conquer the heat here on the Gold Coast?
Well, right after school, we just jumped in the water over here and had a little bit of a splash, so it was nice. A few little northerly currents coming through, so it was a bit cold.
Yeah, those northerlies do that, don't they? They drop it down a bit.
Yeah, but it's still nice to refresh and get in there for the afternoon, so we've had some fun, yeah.
That's it. And the kids, you had a ball?
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. I'll tell you what, everyone, it's a beautiful day on the coast, sweltering in the west. Let's take a look at the charts. And, of course, we do see that big low pressure system dotted along that inland trough pushing towards east coast. Of course, that is bringing some adverse weather. We're going to see that trough pushing off the central southern New South Wales coast over the next 24 hours, bringing some overcast conditions to us. Storms to the southwest at the moment. Tomorrow will be much cooler. Beautiful. Around the nation, did they have snow down in Hobart? Unbelievable at Mount Wellington. 19 degrees, 23 and clear for Melbourne, and a cool top of 24 for Sydney. Back to the tropics, couple of showers at Cairns and 32. Similar for Townsville, mostly sunny for Mackay and 31. Beautiful for Gladstone, 31 degrees, also Harvey Bay, and on the range at Toowoomba, 29 with plenty of wind. Back home now, overcast conditions, possible shower Bayside. It looks as though that coolness will last for a day, getting upwards of 29 degrees coastal, up to 29 also in the city, 32 degrees for those out west at Ipswich and Marlina. I'll be back at 6 p.m. with more weather because the heat wave is set to return.
All right, thanks, Bertie. We'll see you then. Let's check in now on what's coming up in the news at 6. And Max, the record-breaking heat wave has reached its peak.
Oh, please. Let's hope that's the end of it for now, Marlina. That's right. It's been pretty intense, hasn't it, across much of the state. Records have melted along with some residents. The hottest town is a bit of a surprise. We'll tell you where that is, also how we tried to beat the heat. Look at those guys. And, of course, how hot it's going to get tomorrow.
And lead-foot drivers better look out.
Yeah, they better, especially over Christmas. Police enforcement is well and truly back. And tonight, our exclusive investigation and video exposes the top locations where speeding drivers are getting caught out.
And the Christmas spirit is alive and well in 2020.
Yes, and we've got a couple of really nice stories tonight. We have the best Christmas light displays across the southeast and how you can vote for your favourite one. Plus, a really beautiful gesture, this one, the mystery woman who paid off every Christmas lay-by in a Gold Coast toy store. Just fantastic. I'll have that touching story and the rest of today's news at 6 o'clock.
Thank you, Max. We'll see you then. Now, a trip to the dentist is never much fun, but this little guy might be a little embarrassed about why he chipped his tooth. Keepers at the koala sanctuary in Victoria believe mating season could be to blame.
Jumping, a little bit excited by the presence of the girls, and might have mistimed a jump and knocked his face.
Nuji had root canal to fix his fractured front tooth and is now ready to get back to romance. Now let's check in on social media, and Vanity Fair has released an interview with pop star Billie Eilish to YouTube. The magazine asking the same questions to the singer for the 4th consecutive year. It shows how much her life has changed since 2017 and her rise to superstardom.
5 Grammys. Won 5 Grammys. I think it's October 18th, 2017. It's October 18th, 2018. October 18th, 2019. October 18th, 2020. I have 257,000. I have 6.3 million. 40.7 million. 67.5 million.
The interview has already been viewed 12 million times, and praise is being shared online for an Aussie tradie who completed an epic KFC challenge. Victorian Seamus Murphy ate 100 Zinger boxes in 100 days, posting his food challenge to TikTok. Well, that's Queensland's 4 p.m. news for this Wednesday. Stay with us now for The Chase. The news is at 6. I'm Marlina Whop. Have a great afternoon.